small business owner trying to find other small business owners.
All right. Let's check and make sure everything's working okay. All right. Well, here we are. Another fantastic live stream. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we're going to talk about some of the amp placement stuff. So that amp placement video got a lot of views and you know, got a lot of comments. And also there were some things after the fact that I thought of that I need to add onto it. And then also, yeah, so we're gonna hit that, talk a little bit about the Dwayne Allman video. I'm gonna answer some, again, the friends of Ask Zach have been able to send in some questions early that I'm gonna you know, answer on here, and then of course I'm gonna answer your questions. So let's just say hello to everybody. So we've got Jason and Murray and Ian's Guitar Shack and Zach Lee and Jason Phillips. Well, good to see y'all. Good to see everybody. So I feel like, you know, we kind of have to start, you know, with the old theme. So we'll do that. All right. Well, let's say a couple more hellos. Jason, first time catching you on a live stream. Hello, all. Sean McGee. Hello. Telecaster Bear. Ian's Guitar Shack. Excuse me, Zach. Thomas Hayes. JC. Let's talk about Dwayne. I share middle names with him. All right. Let's just dive in. So the amp placement video got a lot of views, and I'm really glad people appreciated that, because that's something that you don't think about, especially as a young player. You're not cognizant of the fact that where you position your amp makes a big difference on the sound, and also can help you deal with problems, whether it's an overly reverbed out room, you know, volume issues, things like that. And one of the things that Eric Amble brought up that I really should have brought up, but I didn't, was I didn't think about the aspect of the vocalist guitar player. I was only thinking of sideman, you know, non-vocalist. And so when you're the vocalist or a vocalist in a band, then you have to be even more cognizant of amp placement, because if you have it up where it's blowing into your microphone, well, that's going to mess everything up. So leaning the amp back, you can't do that to where it's going to blow into the mic. So sometimes you have to put it on the floor. Sometimes you can get it up on a chair, but have it to where, you know, again, it's not blowing straight into the mic. And of course you can test that by, you know, getting in front of the microphone and singing and then pulling away. And if, you know, the sound man's like, ah, you know, then you know. Now there's things around that. Sometimes people put gates on it, but that can be problematic when you have a loud amp and then your voice coming over that's supposed to open the gate. So you'd have to sing really strong and directly on the microphone. So let's say a couple more hellos. A hello from London. Nice. Yes, that is Jason. This is the Stapleton Princeton. I, you know, love it. Have been using it quite a bit. The only thing I've done to it, you know, of course I did a whole episode on it, and then on you know, messing around with it. The only thing that I've, you know, really done to it is I put a Celestian blue Alnico speaker in there, and then I changed the output tubes to the tongue saw reissues, and I put an actual 5Y3 rectifier. So the only old tube in there is the rectifier tube. But for the way I'm using it, that's the way I like it. If I was going to gig with the amp, I would put the stock speaker back in, because it's louder and is more, you know, kind of, it's a little more brutish. So anyway, but for the way I'm using it, I like the blue in there because of the compression, and it kind of pulls back the mids a little bit because this can be a very mid-range heavy amp. So here, like on the back pickup. You know, or even on the neck pickup. So really, really cool amp. I've really been enjoying this one a lot, and I'm kind of trying to use this one on the live stream because mainly I've been using the Vibrato Reverb, which I love, and that's the amp I kind of play through the most around the house because it just sounds so good at low volume. Again, because it's like 5 or 6 watts. So you can turn it up to 5 and it starts to get kind of that hairy, clean sound at a low volume and nobody gets mad at you. Yeah, I wanted to try the brown Princeton and see if it works. Yeah. All right, a few more hellos. We've got hello from Kimberly, Alabama. Nice. Charles. Hey, Zach, just wanted to let you know. Will Van Han Solo, my friend from up in the great north, who also has he has a real brown Princeton, and again, great player, great guy. Los Angeles, stock transformer. Yes, stock transformer on the amp. The only thing I've done is change the speaker and the 2 output tubes to another set of new tubes. I've not done any weird. Yes, you do need a Princeton, Sean. They're great. I really want to get a hold of one of the 64 hand-wired Princetons from Fender at some point. I'm going to see if I can borrow one, cajole one, do whatever I can, because I played through one at Fender's Artist Relations office here in Nashville, and I was very, very impressed with them. So, hello from Northern Canada. Go Patriots. Hi from RGV in Texas. Rio Grande Valley, yes. Yes, I'm from South Texas, and so yes, the Rio Grande Valley. Hi from New Orleans. Hello from Eastern Ohio. Oh yeah, Will Van Han Solo brings up a great point. Don't forget to hit the like button. So, you know, just while you're thinking about it, hit the like button, and that, of course, helps everything out. All right. Yeah, the new hand-wired Princetons, both the Stapleton and the 64 Blackface, they do sound amazing. They're some of the best amps Fender's made in a very long time. I highly recommend those. Have Telecaster will travel, Brunswick, Ohio. Hello from Bedford, UK. Nice. All right, so I'm going to answer. This is this is related to the amp placement video. It has to do with the Vox Trolleys. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the question. So this is from one of the friends of Ask Zach. This is from Mike Burke. He said, whatever happened to the Vox speaker trolley system? Okay, and so I'm just going to pause there and say, okay, if you're not familiar with the Vox trolley system, it was this chrome tubular system. It was tubular metal that was bent, and it would go around the amp, and it would bolt into the sides. And if it was a combo amp, it would allow the combo to be rolled around on casters, and the amp could be angled back, or up or down. And then they had the deluxe version, which was for the head and cab. That the metalwork came above the amp, and then the head would sit up here, and then the speaker cabinet would sit here, and you could still pivot the speaker cabinet around. An ingenious system. And so let's finish up the question. Mike says, I got my first guitar in '64. Sometime in '66, I got a Vox Berkeley tube amp with 210 and the trolley. Okay, Mike, that is a killer rig. I almost bought one of those about a decade ago, and I'm still kicking myself for not getting it, because that is those American-made Vox amps that were tube, from like '65 and barely into '66. Those are great sounding amps. They have this kind of Vox meets Fender sound, and they're just incredibly cool. So he said, I'll go back to Mike's question. He said, the trolley was very practical and made the rig look great. Yeah, made it look amazing. And of course you could tilt the speaker back. Why did this design disappear? I think the advantages of it truly would work on Vox current models and such. As you can see, I'm really upset about no Vox trolleys. Mike Burke. All right. So I did a fair amount of research just to make sure I was hitting this on all cylinders. And what was really helpful is Jim Elias' Vox amplifier book. This thing's, it's a monster, and it covers everything. And this is not an inexpensive book. I think they're at least $100 or something like that. And Keith Williams, my good friend and the 5-Watt World host, this is his copy that he sold me, and so thanks to Keith for helping me out. So looking at this book, and then also my own experiences, and then of course doing research on the internet, come up with a couple responses as to why the trolleys didn't really take off. So first off, in the Vox book, it said the trolleys didn't take off because of their size. Because all of a sudden the amp, think about even like on this Princeton, if I put a trolley on it that came out, lifts it a couple inches off the ground with casters, and then it has to bolt into the sides, well, all of a sudden you haven't doubled the size of your amp, but you've kind of added almost half again. You've made it more of the size of a Vibrolux or something, actually more like a Super almost. So what the Vox book says is that only bands that had roadies and such, and that had real transportation going from gigs, really embraced the trolley system. Now, of course, this book is only dealing with the UK made stuff. I think that the trolley systems were really, really cool, but the other issue was the expense. So I looked up what they cost and then adjusted it for inflation. So the trolley that would hold just a basic AC30 would be $310 in today's money. So can you imagine paying $310 for a stand? Because that's even more expensive than like the rigid chrome stands like the Beatles used on their AC30s and that people see a lot. You're talking those just stiff chrome stands that people will put the AC30s on. Well, these are more expensive than that. And then if you think about the trolley system that was on like a Super Beetle, well, that was $700 in today's money. So the trolley systems, they were expensive. And so, Mike might have gotten a deal, or they were kind of using it as a loss leader, or who knows. But yeah, the trolley system was great, but it was really expensive, and it was big. It made the amp even more cumbersome to transport, but it made it look really, really cool. So, all right. Oh, let's see. Let's answer a couple questions. So Zach Lee says, what are your thoughts between the 64 Custom Deluxe Reverb and the Brown Princeton? If you could only have one. Golly, that'd be a tough question. I think of those two models, I mean, I would choose the Brown Princeton. I like it a little better. The 64 Handwired Deluxe, yeah, is really cool, but this one has so much power on tap and for its size. So I had a Super Beetle with the metal rack. Nice, Sean. Okay. Used for a Tom Petty tribute thing. Yeah. All right. Brent Pruner. Yeah. Thanks for the video on amp placement at gigs. Any thoughts about home and smaller spaces placement? Yeah, at your house, all those things apply. And so, if you're trying to keep your volume down low, then, get your amp off the floor and get it where it's, hitting you more in the face. I mean, that's the biggest thing to do. Also, you can create weird bass traps and different things by putting the amp in a corner. So, I mean, you might like that or not like it. So those are some things you can do. What do you think of the new video from Jim Lill that shows how little tone wood affects a guitar? I think that's a killer video. Jim is a friend of mine, And we've known each other, I don't know, for about 10 years or so. Jim's a great player and he's really smart. I was blown away by the video. I think it's really cool. I think, you know, yeah, I think the tone wood thing, that's interesting. I wish that he had played a little cleaner personally, because you know, all of his sounds had some dirt on it. I wish that had been a little cleaner, but I mean, that's just my preference. But I think it was great. I think with old guitars, to me, some of it is just the interface of touching it, of, you know, feeling the old wood and such, and maybe that's just a tactile thing. So I don't know. You know, I know this old Esquire, you know, the neck doesn't move. It feels, you know, solid as a rock. So that's, but yeah, that's a great video. That it's gotten a lot of views, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, $700 for the trolley system. All right, Tom Rutledge, good to see you. Chad Johnson, do you have a favorite amp for home recording? Yeah, usually I'll use, you know, just depending on what kind of sound I'm going for, I'll use, you know, I have a Tweed 59 Harvard. I'll use that, or the Deluxe Reverb, or the Vox AC10. I'll use, you know, any of the three, or the Stapleton Princeton, just depending on what sound I'm going for, because all those amps sound different. They all have a very unique sound. I'm actually getting more into the thought of using the Strymon Iridium for some recording, just because it's so easy and you don't have to mic up anything, you don't have to make any noise, and the sounds are really great and in your face. So I don't know, I'm just kind of toying with that idea. Tom, I knew Tom had some Vox amps. That I had a Viscount with the combo trolley and a Buckingham with the amp and head trolley. They were great. I want one for my 60th anniversary Vox AC15. I believe they make, pardon me, Tom, they do make the rigid stand, you know, for that amp, but they don't make a trolley. So they make that really pretty chrome, you know, stand for the amp that gets it about 15 inches off the ground, and, you know, just holds it in place, but it doesn't swivel or angle or anything like that. How's that an Esquire? It's got two pickups. Well, Richard Perry, from the beginning, you know, Fender, you know, sold Esquires, and they would sell upgrade kits. And so you could send off to Fender, and they would send you a pick guard and a neck pickup, and I guess a wiring diagram too. And so that was something that was done at least in the 50s. And I think it was, you know, around $15 or so. But again, you have to take inflation into account. So that was probably more like $150 in today's money. So for basically $150, they would send you a neck pickup and a pick guard, which is kind of, that's pretty, you know, reasonable, as it were. But yeah, so this is an Esquire. It was just that when I got it, the guitar was so fouled up. The finish, you know, was gone on the body. It had been painted Krylon rattle can blue. And the pick guard, the original Esquire pick guard, was destroyed. I mean, I still have it, but it's like, it was painted multiple times, and when people were trying to get the paint off, it became so thin and warped, and you couldn't do anything with it. So at that point, because it was a refin and the original pick guard was destroyed, I just decided to make it, you know, a Telecaster, which, you know, just so you know, the route is always there. So it's not like I routed anything on the guitar. All I did was put a pickup in there, because the hole's already there on every Esquire. It's not like it's solid wood under here on an Esquire. So yeah, so I added that, and this is a real vintage mid-50s pickup that I was able to get from Dan Strain. So he was doing some swapping around with a friend of his, and he ended up with a set of mid-50s pickups, and he wanted the bridge pickup, and he made me a deal on the neck pickup so that I could have an old neck pickup in here. So, all right. Yeah, I have Shannon Arnold's talking about the Boss 50. Appreciate the new Deluxe Reverb, worth the money. The Roy Nichols, I mean, you know, the Roy Nichols sound is, you know, just about learning how to play his licks and stuff like that. I think you can get his sound out of a variety of gear, but I think a Fender amp helps. Are Princetons in general brighter amps than the Deluxe Reverb? No, they're not. They are not brighter. Of course, the Deluxe has the capability of having more low end, but Princeton is not brighter. Paisley Esquire is a great guitar. All right, well, I need to hit on some more questions that were sent in by Ask Zach, by friends of Ask Zach guys. So, and this is a great one. Many of the bands I've played with think guitar solos are their time to lay into it and play loud. Personally, I treat my bandmates' solos like another vocal and support with energy and intensity without competing in volume. Easier said than done, but part of the finesse of being an ensemble player, in my opinion. Yeah, and this is from Frank Martin. Absolutely. I think you have to be very sensitive when you're in a band and there's, someone else is soloing, because, what happens when there's a solo is, of course, the vocalist comes out, which opens up some space. And then, of course, the guitar player usually gets a little bit louder, but they don't need to get a ton louder most of the time. And then they're able to play. Now, you as another guitar player, what you have to do is support him and not get in his way, which means being sensitive to where he's playing on the neck and making sure that you're not covering him up. So sometimes it's like watching them play, and if they start playing real low, maybe it means that you start playing rhythm up higher. Maybe it means you play a little bit softer, but without trying to pull the intensity back too much, because you want to support them and they want to feel like they have the band support, but you don't want to be like just flailing away on rhythm. So that's a big deal. And it's like when they're playing really high, you don't want to be playing rhythm up really high. When they're going dinga dinga ding, you don't want to be going chinga 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 up really high. So I know that was some great guitar sounds that I just did with my vocally. But yeah, you really need to be you need to be polite and humble, whenever someone's taking a solo, and just support them without, trying to cover them up. All right, here's another one. So this is from Richard Kendall. Pardon me. He says, you seem to have had a varied career in guitar, music, and all sorts of other interesting music-related endeavors. What gig, job, or project has been the most enjoyable for you? Or perhaps more specifically, if money was no object, what would your music guitar life look like? Would you continue to work for True Tone? Would you focus your energies on playing live studio work for others, or perhaps for yourself? That's a great question. I've found that I really like doing a variety of things, because it keeps things from getting boring or becoming too much of a job and or too much of a grind. So I love working for True Tone. I've worked for them for 14 years, going on 15. Great people to work with and work for. Bob's wonderful. I enjoy, of course, I love doing Ask Zach. This is, we've been able to together create this kind of fun community of, guitar players that, that kind of have a lean toward Telecasters and such, and tele players. And, I really enjoy that. I give lessons some, and I play out. I love playing out. But like touring is hard, especially like when you have kids and a wife. And so I enjoy going out and playing shows. Like I played, a run of shows at the end of December, early January, and it was just a ton of fun. But also it's hard, riding in a transit, with 5 other guys, for 10 hours or something like that. Going from Tulsa to Nashville, or Nashville to Tulsa, I should say. But yeah, I just really like doing a variety of things. It really keeps me, it keeps me going, doing a lot of different things. All right, looks like there've been some questions that maybe I've missed. Colder here in Manitoba, -22. Wow, yeah. The restoration is so good, it looks like real wear. Yeah, well, it is real wear everywhere except for the body. And then I had Dan Strain relic the body as little as possible. And one of the real funny things is, I don't know if you can see this, but there's this red undercoat that was, the red was done by the person that painted the guitar blue. And so they put this red sealer and then they put blue on top of it. And we thought we got it all off, but it's seeping through the blonde in certain spots. And we were trying to be real careful as we sanded the blue and the red off to not change the shape of the body, because that's one of the big things that could happen in a refin. If a refin is not done by someone who knows what they're doing, they can actually change the shape of the body and take the edges off, and all of a sudden the guitar looks odd, and I didn't want that. So yeah, which Deluxe reverb to get? Of the current Deluxe reverbs, my favorite are the Blonde Tone Master and the 68, because they have Celestion speakers in them and they have more mid-range. I actually like those better than the 65 and the 64. That's just me. I mean, I think the 65, reissue Deluxe is a great amp, but the biggest thing I'm going to want to do with that is to cut the bright cap and put a Celestion speaker in it. So to me, it's just nice when the Tone Master or the 68 one, you can just play them as is instead of having to modify it. When are you going to get a Sparklecaster like Don Rich? I love Don Rich, and I love Sparklecasters. Frankly, I love this guitar so much that I don't, that it's like I have a couple of other Tellies and I do play them, but it's like I would feel guilty getting another Telecaster just because I like this one so much. This has kind of been a dream guitar, this 57 Esquire, and and it was help from friends that did some of the work on it, and then the fact that it was a refin and had a lot of issues, that was the only reason I was able to afford it. So thoughts on the Tone King Falcon? I'm just not familiar with the Tone King stuff. Are 50s Tele pickups and broadcaster pickups pretty much the same? No. Usually they have different types of wire and magnets. Any tips on recording in a carpeted basement room that has a higher level of reverb? Yeah, get your amp off the floor, take reverb off and try to hang some other things or put an amp cover or something like that in front of it, because it's all about trying to kill as much reflection as possible. Maybe you're hanging blankets on the wall and things like that. Jimmy Bryant album looks good. Yeah, it does. Thanks. I love Jimmy Bryant. Dude, you're living the life. Thank you. Any chance of interviewing with an interview with Wayne Moss coming up? I would love to interview Wayne Moss. We're just kind of slowly getting back going with the True Tone Lounge. So that's, we're going to start filming some stuff later this year. So Wayne Moss is a wonderful idea. How many times are you asked a question and you want to respond? I'll just Google it. Yeah, there's a lot of times in life I get asked that. I get asked it by my kids all the time. I don't want to tell them to Google it. Thoughts on greenback speakers? I really like them. In fact, I had a greenback in this Princeton, this brown Princeton for a bit, and really liked it a lot. Pardon me. The great thing about those speakers is they have a really big dust cover in the middle, and they just kind of have a darker, warmer sound, and they have kind of a nice woodiness to them. Now, I ended up liking the Celestion Blue better, but I really like a greenback a lot. And also a real greenback will pull the dBs down because it's not a super efficient speaker. So a greenback's really good at kind of bringing down the volume of an amp just enough to, if you're having issues with the amp being too loud. Let's see, maybe, yeah, has Wayne Moss passed away? I'm not sure. Thanks for giving Jesse Ed Davis some recognition. Absolutely. I love Jesse Ed, and I listen to his stuff and play, his stuff. I think about, I was showing somebody this the other day. Let's see. Love Jesse Ed. Can't get enough. Neck radius that I prefer. Absolutely the vintage 7.25. I like that. I like bigger frets, but I like the more curved radius. Which Celestion speaker, Greenback or Vintage 30, to replace stock Jensen in 65 Deluxe or leave it stock? I would definitely put a Vintage 30 in there. And you need to be cognizant of, does it have 4 bolts or 8 bolts? If it has 8 bolts, then I'd recommend getting the warehouse copy of a Vintage 30. It's called a Veteran 30, and it already has 8 holes. See, the Celestion speaker, the Vintage 30, it only has 4 mounting holes, so that kind of creates a problem with certain Fender amps. Let's see, any plans for Ask Zach on JT Cornfloss? Wow, I wish I would have done that while JT was alive. So, but yes, I have been contemplating doing a JT oriented episode. I think that would be a good tribute to him. Just bought a 66 Champ and was impressed with it. Perfect amp for bedroom. What is your experience with them? I love the black face and silver face, Champs. I think they're great. Yeah. And I think if they have a good speaker in them, they're great. How to sound like Junior Bernard? Oh my goodness. So Junior Bernard's my favorite Bob Wills guitarist, and Bob Wills played an Epiphone Emperor with a pickup that Leo Fender made, and I believe a DeArmond pickup, and he ran each one into its own amp, and he had an amazing sound that was distorted yet had clarity to it, and just really aggressive. And so if you haven't heard Junior Bernard, you need to Google him. Frankly, I really need to do an episode about Junior, because I mean, he's really one of my favorites. So whenever I need to play Western swing, I try to play more like Junior Bernard than like maybe some of the other guys. So, hi from London. Brent Rawlings, thank you so much. Let's see, just missed some questions. Let's see. Philip Donnelly. I have not heard of Philip Donnelly, but I'm not familiar with everybody. So let's see. Thoughts on Grammatico amps? A lot of my friends have used Grammaticos, and apparently they're really good, Fender, type amps. Will Van Honsolo says, any plans to mount a Dwayne Allman fuzz onto the Esquire? No. But I really thought that was a cool thing. And I hope people enjoyed that I tried to spotlight that it was like, I don't think many people had really discussed that, the fact that Dwayne had this guitar mounted fuzz unit that he used for a number of years before he switched to the Strat briefly while he was in Muscle Shoals. And then of course he switched to the Gibson and didn't use pedals anymore and just ran his Les Paul straight into a Marshall, but would jumper the channels. Let's see. So I'm guessing Wayne Moss is still alive. I hope that's so. Okay, thank you, Shannon. I'm glad to know that Wayne Moss is still alive, so that's still a possibility. All right. Well, I'm glad we made it through that one. So again, thanks to Brent Rawlings for putting some cash in the tip jar. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I wanted to tell you guys, in case any of y'all are on the fence. So, I've had friends of Ask Zach for a while, and people have just been supporting me without really any extras. And so then what I started doing was letting them see the episodes early without commercials. And then I just released the first exclusive content to friends of Ask Zach. And so I did what I would call kind of a holistic guitar lesson, where I take a song, and I took the song Tennessee Whiskey that of course Chris Stapleton has popularized, and I took the song and I take the intro, I take different rhythm guitar parts that you can play, different rhythm guitar ideas, different fills, different things like that into this 3-part lesson. And my plan is to do that every month for the friends of Ask Zach. So for those of y'all that are, might be on the fence, just throwing that out there. All right. Heaven Wreck, any suggestions for silent practice amps? I have kids and can only practice once they go to sleep, or even low water jamp is too loud. Okay, Heaven Wreck, thank you so much for hitting the tip jar. Greatly appreciate it. My favorite thing to practice with when I need to be quiet is this little Mustang Micro from Fender, and it's really great. It's it's rechargeable, and it's got really good sounds. And what I really like about it is you can stream stuff off your phone onto this. So I can, of course you could have tracks that you play along with, but I just like to get old, Bob Wills or Merle Haggard or R&B tunes or whatever I'm feeling and just play along with them. And it sounds really good. And this is around, it's around $100 in the US. So I don't know, it might be 100 pounds, in the UK. I wouldn't think it'd be too much higher than that, but this is a really, really great thing. If you want to get more complex and you want to use your pedal board, then you could get the Iridium, which is kind of expensive for what it is, but I mean, it's $400, but it's a really nice amp simulator thing that you could run your pedals into, and then but it just doesn't offer what this does. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's $100. You plug your headphones in, you can stream stuff off your phone. The tones on it are really good. I like the Deluxe and the Twin sounds on it. It has reverb and tremolo and delay. It has overdrive, has all sorts of sounds. And is it like just amazing into the world? No, but they're really good. So this is a great buy. Highly recommend that for anybody, but especially someone that's wanting to practice at low volume. All right. I just kind of talked about, yeah, Bill Kirchen would be up. Hello, Ryan K. Greetings from Poland. Best overdrive pedal for vibrato channel and a deluxe reverb. Hate the top end. Okay, John, you really need to clip the bright cap on the vibrato channel, in my opinion. But, otherwise, my favorite overdrive is either the Mostortion, which you can get copies made by Karma, or the Nobles. And you don't have to get like an old Nobles. The new Nobles Mini sounds really good. The Nobles Mini is a great pedal to put in front of an unmodified deluxe reverb. Guitar Boy 007, thank you so much. Very, very kind. Daniel, I use a torpedo captor to keep a piece late at night. Very nice. Hello from Ants. Yeah. Thank you, great suggestion. Been meaning to check out the Mustang Micro. Yeah, it really does sound great, and I've really enjoyed using it. And so I even take this Mustang Micro on the road with me, and so that I can, because sometimes you're playing out on the road and the artist will say, which this happened just this last time I was out, all of a sudden the artist said, hey, I just wrote this new song and we're going to play it tomorrow night, and they send it to you, and this way you can stream it and play along with it, and you can figure out, whatever guitar part you need to figure out. So to me, this is a really great tool, and I always keep it in my gig bag, with my Esquire, in fact. So, yeah. From the Third Coast, nice. Let's see, Fabian. Hello from Sweden. Nice. I'm going to buy a used Tennessee Rose. Do you like any Gretsch guitars? I do like Gretsch guitars. I like Gretsch guitars a lot better than Gibsons. So because they're twangier and they have more high end. I'm just such a Telecaster guy. It's like, that's why all you see me play is a Tele, is because, I mean, this is who I am and this is what I like. And it's like, I'll play other stuff every once in a while, but this is it for me. I mean, this is all I want to hear. So, but the Gretsch, especially, I love the single coils that are in the Tennessee Rose. Oh, I guess you can get it either way. You can get it with Filtertrons or the Hylotrons. And I like both of those pickups in that guitar. I kind of like it with the Hylotron in the front and the Filtertron in the back. Of course, that's kind of a funky look, but those are really great guitars. The Japanese-made Gretsches that have been made for the last 20 years are killer guitars. Every one I've seen of them was great. Yes, you can record into your DAW with the micro. Boss Katana. I just don't have experience with the Boss unit. Which headphones do you use to practice guitar? I just use, a set of, I have a couple different sets of Sony headphones that are not super expensive. They're like in the, $20 to $40 range. I have a couple sets that I just, use around the house that just have, good padding on there and have a decent sound to them. Let's see. The brown Princeton with an aux on the top is very pricey, but amazingly silent solution. Hi from Munich, expat here. Very nice. Yes, Luke Cyrus. Man, Luke is an amazing player and a great guy and been very, very kind. And, if you haven't seen Luke's clips, either on YouTube or on Instagram and such, he won one of those shootouts when Tom Bukovac was doing a shootout early on in his show. So, yeah, Luke's here commenting, and he's a great player and a really nice guy. Could you please explain the difference in reverb, tremolo, and delay? Okay. Well, reverb is usually to recreate a room sound, and whether it's bigger or smaller. Tremolo is fluctuation in volume, so it's the volume going up and down. Delay is taking a note and replicating it at a set point, a certain length of time after the original was played. So I hope I answered that in a good way. Greetings from the Faroe Islands. Do you ever just go directly to amp, no pedals? All the time. I love playing direct into an amp. Of course, I want to do that on an amp that has reverb. So the Vibrachamp Reverb, that newer amp from Fender, I plug straight into that thing all the time. And my Deluxe Reverb, plug straight into it. With this amp, with this Princeton or the Vox AC10 or the Harvard, I usually will plug into just a reverb pedal. Rod Martins, thank you so much. I need to thank Rod. Rod he just hit the tip jar, but also Rod came to one of my shows in Wichita, and I was half sick, and he brought me these wonderful cookies and nuts, and they were fantastic, and I was very appreciative, and I wish that I'd been able to see Rod play, because he was playing that night. So, and then I ended up being really sick, and because he was going to come out to the next show. But thank you so much, Rod. You were very, very kind. So, all right. What's the easiest way to start learning how to play lead? Just start playing melodies. The best thing you can do is start playing simple melodies. Let's see. Sean Tubbs, my goodness. So Sean Tubbs, of course, probably a lot of y'all are familiar with him, and I met him at the airport going to New York City, and it was my first time working with Carrie Underwood, and I got to be Sean Tubbs's guitar tech at Saturday Night Live. And so Sean is one of the best guys on the planet. And he's, of course, an amazing guitarist, because you've seen him play, and you've seen like his demos and the content that he creates. So a big shout out to Sean Tubbs. So, working with him was so much fun and so inspiring. And I kept, telling other guitar players to listen to Sean, when we'd play shows. Mike Burke here. Thank you for the trolley research. Neither size or cost will fade my love for the trolley. Well, good for you, Mike. I think there's, you can get some trolleys. And I think actually North Coast Music used to make trolleys, and they've sold all of that to another business, and they're making just the rigid stands, but they're supposed to start doing the trolleys. So I found that out also. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. Love to give a shout out to yourself, Cody Jung, Johnny Highland, and Red for changing my life. Well, I have to say, Cody interviewed me, and he is such a great guy, and I really enjoyed, getting to spend time with him. He was kind enough to interview me and come here to my house, so that was a lot of fun. G.E. Smith. Yes, I've wanted to interview G.E. Smith, but the thing is that I want to do an in-person one instead of a Zoom interview, and it just hadn't been able to happen yet. So I've spoken with GE in the past. GE's a really cool guy, and of course he has such a great history, and so hopefully we can make that happen. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, kids. Zach is the real deal. Thank you, Sean. Yes. So let's see, what else have I missed? Yeah, so G.E. Smith. Yeah, I love him. And G.E. Smith was such a huge influence on me because I remember watching him play with Hall & Oates on MTV. Like they would show concert footage of Hall & Oates playing, and G.E. Smith was there. And then all of a sudden he started playing on Saturday Night Live. And that was some of the first times where you saw vintage amps and vintage guitars being used and really being able to hear them well. And so it blew my mind seeing G.E. Smith. And of course he played a Telecaster a lot, and he played through blonde Fender amps. He played through like blonde Bassmans and Showmans and some Tweeds and different things. And he would play 335s and 345s and Les Pauls, and just a great player. Yeah. Let's see. Snow day here in St. Louis. So glad I was able to catch up the stream. Thoughts on Telly with dual humbuckers? I love them. And it's like I would play one of those before I would play a 335 or a Les Paul. I'm just such a single coil guy. I mean, I just kind of do my own thing. So it's like when I go out and play with somebody, it's because they're my friend, and they don't expect me to play like somebody else. And so, I kind of have the luxury of kind of being able to do kind of what I do, or the old country thing, the James Burton, Roy Nichols kind of thing, or yeah. So, but I really like the thin lines, and I've been tempted to get one, from Fender or from Danocaster to get a, because I like the wide range humbuckers better than the Fender ones because they have more high end and they have more clarity. They're not so dark sounding. So, Manchester, any tips on keeping a relict neck healthy? Would you use wax or just wipe it down? Okay, I don't believe in cleaning guitars unless you get major funk on them. I don't clean them, and if I do clean them, I will take a soft rag and I will just breathe on the guitar like this, and and then I'll just wipe whatever off, unless it's something really, really bad. So I just don't like to clean guitars. I like the funk on them unless it just gets too much. Like there are times where, and sometimes it's when someone else plays my guitar, sometimes they'll get some major funk on it or something, and or they've just sweated the crap out of it someplace, and it's not my sweat, and so I might clean that off. But I'm really not a real clean guitar guy, which funnily enough, Sean Tubbs was a super clean guitar guy, and so when I was his guitar tech, it was hard for me, but I had to, he wanted his guitar, he had a black Tyler Strat, and it was a beautiful guitar. So I don't blame him for wanting this, but he wanted that guitar to be super clean and shiny, when he played. And I didn't like that just because it was just like, why? But I got it. And he was the boss on it, but yeah, I don't keep my guitar super clean. Yeah. Does adding the Glazer bender promote more or less neck dive? I have never had issues with neck dive unless, it was the guitar was really neck heavy or the body was too light. So I've never had issues with neck dive ever. And I've had Glazer and other types of benders on all my guitars. On many, many guitars through the years. And I've never had trouble with neck dive on a Glazer. Thanks for the brilliant content. How do you describe relation between weight of a Telly and its twang and acoustic properties? The lighter, the better. Yeah, lighter to a point. I think when you get a guitar that's under 6.5 pounds, it can start to have not enough mid-range to it. But, and then when a guitar gets above 8 pounds, I just don't like them. It doesn't have to do with the tone as much as I just don't like guitars that are 8 pounds and plus. And that's just me. You might love some 8-pound guitar, but I like 6.5 to 7.5 pounds for a Telecaster. To me, that's the ideal weight. This one's 6.5 pounds. It's at the kind of bottom range, the lightest range. Because to me, when they get much lighter than this, they start to kind of lose assertiveness. Oh, yeah. G.E. Smith played with a bunch of different artists. Any thoughts on the late Tony Joe White? Yeah, he used to live in my hometown. So my hometown is Kingsville, Texas. And Tony Joe White, when he moved from Louisiana, he lived in Kingsville and in Corpus Christi. So those are the two towns that I spent a lot of time in. And so that's where he wrote songs like Polk Salad Annie. My dad, who was a big music fan, my dad would go see Tony Joe White when Tony Joe White was just doing Elvis impersonating. He wasn't even really writing his own songs. So yeah, I love Love Tony Joe White. Paco Pascal. Yeah, he's a great dude. Waylon Jennings or Marty Stewart. Absolutely. These are all guys on the list. A guitar is to be played no matter how dirty it is. To a point, that is. Yeah. Yeah. Firebirds. Yeah, I like Firebirds because they're brighter than a full-size humbucker. So yeah, I absolutely like those pickups. With Joe Fick, that's the bass player with Don Kelly. I would love to do a Don Kelly focused episode. It just hadn't happened yet. And yes, I want to do, because Waylon Jennings, his guitar playing was so influenced by Ralph Mooney. And it's like he didn't really do the bending thing, but he did the same kind of rolling things that Ralph Mooney did on the steel. And yeah, Waylon was very influenced by Ralph Mooney, and that's why Ralph Mooney was in his band for all that time. I mean, he was in it from the 70s through the late 80s, and you know, such a big part of him. Yeah. Adding weight to the headstock. Yeah, when you add weight to the headstock, you start getting more and more fundamental and less harmonic stuff going on. And yeah, it just depends on which direction you want to go. So it's like people talk about this a lot on Les Pauls. So if you have the Kluson type machine heads on a Les Paul, it tends to be a little more open, airy sounding because it has more of this harmonic stuff. While if you put Schallers or, you know, or Grovers or something on a Les Paul, what happens is the greater headstock mass gives you more sustain, and also it focuses things more on the fundamental of the note, and it's much more assertive sounding. And I don't want to do that to a Telecaster because I kind of like the open doinkiness of Kluson machine heads and this cheesy, you know, little bent steel bridge and everything. So let's see. How about an interview with Don Kelly? I've already tried to do an interview with Don Kelly. Don already left Nashville and went to Florida, and he seems to have just kind of, he's done with it. So I tried to get an interview with him, you know, before he left, but it didn't happen. So I'm still hopeful, but yeah, it might just have to be some of the players that worked with him, which I've interviewed a number of the guys that have played with him, like Red and Brent Mason, and you know, JD and other cats. Yeah. I bought the Pinecaster book because of you. Thanks. The Pinecaster book is amazing. I've already had to loan it out to a friend, and I'm waiting to get it back. So, and I have to make sure that they didn't do anything to it. But I love that book. It's amazing. From Wales. Nice. Big Clarence White fan. Oh, man. Wow, I can't imagine getting to see Clarence White. Clarence White's, you know, another one of my favorite, you know, all-time, you know, players. And I haven't done an episode on him yet just because it's so daunting, because his rhythm, not his rhythm playing, but the feel and everything that he did is so different and so, you know, I was listening to the Nashville West album, which is my favorite Clarence White work. It's before he had the bender. And he's playing the Telly into Vibrolux, and his playing is just, he is overplaying at times, but it's just his rhythm and everything that he does is fantastic. Evolution of Broadway and its role in country. That's a great idea, and I'm going to write that one down, Rusty. Thank you. A clip-on tungsten piece. Try it. Huh, I might try that. Keep 4 hockey pucks in the back of my Princeton in case I need to tilt it back a bit. That's a great idea, Leland. All right. Ampeg J20. Are you? I guess the comment is that the Brown Princeton is like the Ampeg J20. Yeah. Let's see. How to get gigs in Nashville. That's be a nice guy, be a great player and show up, be on time, don't be a problem, and be fun to be around. You know, I think that's a big, and you have to go out and take chances and meet people and get told no, you know, 100 times before you get told yes. You know, it's not many people, you know, just get to move to Nashville with a gig or something like that. Those are the exceptions. Wipe off the crud with diluted soap de jour. Okay, I can get that, Keith. Yeah, Daniel Donato interview would be cool. Yes, I know Daniel. My 1959 Fender Harvard, I bought that from Daniel Donato. So yes, he's been really busy, you know, touring and doing shows. But he would also be another good cat. What amp, guitar, or pedal would you like to add to your collection? Ooh, I would really like to add. If I were to add something, I would like to have a Gibson acoustic from like the 50s or earlier. You know, like I would love to have an actual L00. I'd love that, or like a J50 or something like that. You know, even like from the early 60s, like a 64 J45 or J50. That would be a really killer guitar. Would love to have a slope-shouldered or L00, you know, Gibson. Those would be really nice to have. Amp-wise, you know, I'd love to convince Fender to let me borrow or have a 64 Princeton, you know, because that's a great sounding amp. Yeah, thanks. All right, guys. Well, I think we've kind of come to a good stopping place, but I want to thank you all for watching. I'll give you I'll give you a little teaser in this in the lesson that I've done for the Friends of Ask Zach. I show how to play like some you know, Steve Cropper style 6/8 rhythm. And some other things. Also, next week's episode of Ask Zach is going to be on bass sixes, and it's going to be the Fender Bass 6 versus the Dan Electro. So this is one thing that I was always curious about, and I wish someone would have made the video, but I finally did it. So these are two, you know, so these are both bass sixes in essence. They're both tuned E to E, but I wish someone had done a video where you could get really a comparison, because these are, you know, kind of my favorite, you know, bass sixes, and I love them both, and these are both mine. So that's what next week's will be about. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.